All right, guys. Well, here I am. I had a fairly eventful night last night. So, okay, of course, there's a catastrophe in my. There's never. I'm never just like, oh, I'm good. I'm gonna go sit Indian style and think about how chill shit is. Never that. Always some catastrophe. I catastrophize shit, but I really do have a lot of like little crises in my life or whatever. So the last like 3 weeks, I've just been having horrible sleeping problems, right? I've had confusion, staying up all night and then like just getting really confused, mixing shit up. I've called Karina like different name. I'm like, Bobby, you trying to butt fuck? She's like, ew, I'm Sam. I'm like, oh, what up, Sam? No, I've just been getting like really confused. I don't know. Like I'm talking to my dad. He's like, "Are you drunk?" I'm like, "No." He's like, "Why do you keep calling me mom?" I'm like, "What?" I just keep getting things mixed up. I'm sure I've done that in videos as well. I don't even know. I don't watch my shit typically. Sometimes I do. Like I'll like fast forward to the end just to know like where I was or whatever. But I've been really confused and probably like 4 or 5 days ago, my face started feeling numb right here, from like right here all the way to there. And I was like, I went to the hospital a couple weeks ago because I had this like insane migraine. And I thought I was having a stroke. Now I'm a hypochondriac. So I have to take that into consideration, right? Like I tend to like if I fart, I'm like, oh my God, I think my intestines might be moving around and they might fall out of my asshole. Trina's like, I'm pretty sure that's not happening. Poo poo gaddy. I just felt like saying that. But, I always think there's something wrong with me. Remember I thought I had AIDS for a while? I was like going to like social services. I was like, yeah, I need disability. They're like, what? It's like, I have AIDS. Can't get hired anywhere because of my AIDS. I get like rejected. They're like, sir, we've told you 100 times you don't have AIDS. I'm like, fuck. I have Hep C. They're like, so? If you don't have Hep C, you're a cop. I'm like, that's what I say. All right. Like dap with them and leave. So, when I had gone to the hospital, they like took my vitals and they're like, yeah, you're good. The last like 4 or 5 days, I've been getting that numbness, like I've been talking about. Now, I always have like 10 different problems going on at one time. I had this like abdominal thing going for a while, and I just complain no matter what. Like, I'm getting my dick sucked. I'm like, fuck. My fucking tonsils ache right now. I don't know why. Like, stop saying shit like that when I'm sucking your dick. I'm like, no, they hurt. I don't know, they're sore. I love you. Eskimo kisses. And so the face numbing thing, I Googled. I was like, all right, face numb, pulsating headache, confusion, face numb, like half of my body like going limp. And I Googled all that, like with commas. I'm like, all right, I'll make sure to. It's like stroke or what's the other one? Bell palsy, which you get from herpes, which I have. I can admit it. I have it. I've been with a lot of women. That's why. It's because I'm irresistible. If you're irresistible, you get diseases. No, I really do have herpes. But so I was like, fuck. I wonder if my herpes like mutated into Bell's palsy. I don't really know what that is, but it sounds gnarly. It sounds like you need like a walker and shit, Bell's palsy. I don't know. I don't know. But oh fuck. So last night, probably around like 9 o'clock at night, something like that, my face goes numb. And I tell Karina, I'm like, Karina, my face is numb. She's like, you always say that. I'm not giving you money. I'm like, what? I don't need money. What the fuck? I was like, honestly, I think there's something wrong with me. She's like, you always think that. There's always something wrong. You're such a drama queen. She called me a bitch, actually. Actually, I'm going to get to that. We got one of the worst fights we ever got in yesterday. And I'll get to that. And it was I swear to God, I didn't do what she said I did. It's crazy. Anyway, so last night, I post on Facebook. I was like, hey, my face is going numb. And I'm not on blow. I don't know. What's up? Everyone's like, go to the hospital. You're going to die of a stroke. You probably have Bell's palsy from herpes. I was like, fuck. So I went. Now, on top of that, in addition to these other symptoms that I've been having, and the migraine I associated with my septum because I've been having these insane sinus infections, right? But I also have dental shit that I've been having for a long ass time. I went to go get root canals. I've explained this before, a couple months back. And they're like, all right, come back and get caps or fillings or whatever the fuck it was. I don't know. I'm so disorganized, and I don't mean to be like that, but I just, fucking thoughts race and I, forget things and whatever. I never got it done. So last night, they ended up doing a MRI. They did all these x-rays, and the dude was like, wow, your gum's infected. And it's nerve problems that you're having, with your cheek. I was like, do I have Bell's palsy though? He's like, no. I was like, oh, all right, keep going. So what do we do? He's like, antibiotics. I'm like, all right, cool. But it was the kind of thing where my teeth are rotting so badly. You don't see it, but it's I don't want to show you my teeth. I just ate, but it's right there. You can kind of see where it's rotting or whatever. That's the bad one. He was like, yeah, you could die. This is the third time I've been to the hospital, and they're like, yeah, because of your dental fucking disaster going on in your mouth, you could die from this. So now I'm on, I don't know what the fuck these things are called. Amoxicillin or some shit. I don't know. They're blue. They look a lot funner than they are. So there's that. I thought I was going to have a stroke, and it all comes down to my dental shit. I mean, years of the kind of drug abuse that I've done doesn't surprise me. It surprised me that I have any teeth to begin with. It doesn't surprise me that shit's rotting out and, whatever. I don't even have bad breath, though, which is, we probably, I don't know. Wouldn't go with my hot tan personality. You know what I'm saying? Imagine being hot tan with bad breath. Oh. Chick's like, yeah. All right, sorry. All right, so yesterday, speaking of chicks, I go on my daily walk with Karina yesterday. She's going to be mad if I tell you guys this. Whatever. Go on a walk, right? She's pushing the stroller, and I'm just walking next to her. BMW pulls up next to us. It's this black Beamer. Now, I have 2017 320i. It's 320, whatever. My dad got that for me. It's the nicest present he's ever gotten me in my life. But the most expensive for sure. It was just, I'm doing good. He's like, hey, here's a new car. I don't want you to die because your other car is so unsafe. It's paid off and everything. So I can do whatever I want with it. I want rims, So this car pulls up and I'm looking at the rims, and I also, for some reason, I don't know much about cars, but I was just seeing, I've noticed, and you probably think I'm stupid because, I've noticed on BMWs, the ones with the double muffler, the M3s, they have way better factory rims, and I was just trying to see, what it was. So I, go and I'm, looking at the muffler. So I'm oh, those are nice rims. I wonder if it's a double muffler. Sometimes double mufflers aren't even on M3s. There's, other Beamers that have it. Anyway, I turned my head. Karina's like, you fucking piece of shit. I was like, what? And she fucking pours water on me. I was like, what are you doing? And she's like, I saw you looking at that bitch. I didn't even see a girl in there. But I guess it looked bad because I turned my head, I grabbed my ball. I was like, oh. It's look at that bitch right there. She's like, huh? I was like, I'm talking about the muffler. The fucking bitch-ass muffler. I didn't really say the bitch thing, but I really did turn my head kind of, it looked, I could see how it looked, but she was freaking out. She poured water on me. I was like, why you gotta make it physical, man? We got this huge fight, And then, like, we, like, got home, and she's, like, screaming at me and, like, throwing pots and pans. I'm like, you're really hurting my head right now. I could have another stroke. She's like, you never had a stroke to begin with, bitch. I was like, all right. So that was kind of the day I had yesterday. But anyway, I'm back. I'm on antibiotics now. But yeah, it's pretty scary when, like, half of your face goes numb like that. But it comes down to my cavities. It's not even a cavity. It's just the fact that I got root canals and I didn't do what I was supposed to follow up or whatever. So, okay. Anyway, I don't really know where we're at in the Henry story. But I kind of know, like, where the story picks up. So I'll just go with that. So it got to a point where I had relapsed with that guy, CJ, and I worked at this telemarketing place for only a week, but I'm shooting heroin every single day. And Karina had been fired, so she's not working at that time. She's like, I don't even remember what she was doing. I don't know. I think she was just drinking all day or something. I don't really remember where she was. But I was drinking on top of that. So I was drinking heavily. I'm doing heroin. And I steal my parents. Remember, I got caught taking my mom's credit card and getting all those Airbnbs, and then I got caught. There was one credit card that they didn't know that I used. I think it was my dad's. It was his frequent flyer miles for United. And I used it for a company called Turo. So if you don't know what Turo is, it's a company that's suing me right now. But it's kind of like Airbnb, but for cars. So it's an app that you get on your phone, and as a private citizen, you say you own another car. Say you own a Honda, right? And you don't use it, you just have an extra car. You can put it on this site, or this app called Turo, and people can go rent the car for as long as they want. It's cheap. It's $30 a day. So I didn't have a car at that point. My mom would let me use her X3 once in a while. She had an 06 BMW X3, which is an older SUV. But I didn't have a car consistently. So I started renting this one car. And it's really weird. It's like a drug deal. They're like, yeah, meet in the mall. My husband's going to be wearing a red Adidas jacket. Code word's Blanca. And you get there and they're like, Ryan? You're like, Blanca? He drops the keys and I just pick it up without looking, put it into my pocket and go get the car. It was weird. I mean, it wasn't exactly like that, but I had to meet some guy in the mall. And he was your typical brocha mustache, white guy. Probably a painter or something. Just cool. A guy. We've got a lot of homies that paint. I'm not saying anything against it, but he looked like the kind of guy that's what he did for a living. Probably drinks a little too much, coaches his kids' little league, or at least he's one of those parents that goes to games and yells really offensive shit. You run like a fucking queer! One of those kind of guys. That'll be me in 4 years. I don't know. What? I don't fuck with brochas. So I get this car, and I think Karina, it's really hard to remember, but if I remember correctly, she still had a paycheck or some shit. She had been fired. It was right after she got fired. Now, at this point, it was right after my grandma's funeral. She's staying at my parents' house, and because I was going to the funeral the next day, my dad lets her to spend the night there. Typically she's not allowed there. At that point, he let her because I had to go to this funeral, and I was throwing a fit. I was like, I'm not going to grandma's funeral if my girlfriend can't sleep here. My dad's like, wow. All right, she can stay. Just please, no incident in the morning. You just got to go. I'm like, I can't hear you. I was just being a little bitch. So she comes and she's staying over with me. We fuck. I remember this so clearly. We fuck, and she's like, ew. Look at all this jizz. It looks like the cap of a big wild mushroom. That's extremely graphic, Karina. It's disgusting. And she's like sitting on the toilet. You know how girls do that, like after they have sex, they sit on the toilet and it like kind of comes out of them. Sorry for family members that watch this. But anyway, I'm like, it just occurred to me. I'm like, hey, I come in you every day. Sometimes I like come in my hand and just like put it in there. I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I felt like you might be thirsty here. Are you on birth control? She's like, yeah. Are you? I'm like, why would I be on birth control? No. She's like, yeah, I'm on the shot. I'm on the depot shot. I'm like, I've never seen you go get it. When do you get it? She's like, I only have to get it once a year. I was like, oh, okay. When's the last time you got it? She's like, November. It's July. Or it's like June at this point, right? I'm like, Google depot shot. I forget what it was, but it was like 90 days or like 6 months or something. Like it was like way past that point. And I showed her. I was like, what is this? She's like, I've been on depot for so long, I can't even get pregnant. I don't even have fallopian tubes anymore. It looks like a boar cave. And I was like, all right. And I just kind of like, I don't know, believed her. I didn't believe her, but I kind of like, whatever. You know, we kept drinking, we kept fucking, whatever. I go to my grandma's funeral. We go back. So now it's July, right before the Henry thing takes place. Remember, I told you we'd seen each other on July 5th. I remember because it's the day after July 4th. I remember that very clearly. But around that time, right around July 4th, July 5th, right as I start working for this telemarketing place. And sorry, I don't like to like go back in time like that to confuse you, but just so you know, she started feeling sick right around that time. She's like, my boobs hurt and I'm craving string cheese. And I'm like, oh my God, I think you're pregnant. I didn't even get pregnant. I was like, yeah, but we don't use birth. After she told me that she wasn't on birth control, I started pulling out. You know, I was like, it'll be fun. Look. And we started doing shit like that, right? She starts getting sick, complaining about her boobs hurt, nauseous, craving weird shit. She's like, I want to get Fun Dip and just eat the chalky stick thing. I'm like, okay, you're probably pregnant then because you want weird shit. She's like, I want to put chili on it. And I go, fuck. So I end up insisting that we go to the pharmacy and get a home pregnancy test. The whole time, she's like, this is stupid. I'm not pregnant. I watch her too. So I'm like, no. I'm coming in the bathroom with you. And she's like, okay. At that point, she'd already peed on me a couple times. You know, I was like, hey, have you ever done golden showers? I mean, I'm not into it. I'm just saying, you want to pee on my face? She's like, okay. So this is what ends up happening. She gets a negative pregnancy test. She's like, I told you I'm not pregnant. Let's go get that Fun Dip now. And I knew she was because I'd gotten 4 girls pregnant at that point. So I've been around pregnancy symptoms a bunch of times. Okay, so now, just so you know, in my mind, I think she's pregnant. It's a constant source of fighting for us, source of contention. And now I'm relapsed on heroin week after that. I'm working at this telemarketing place. And she starts getting suspicious because I'll like pick her up. She wasn't working. I'd like pick her up at her parents' house. There'd be some like, you know, Ethiopian looking paisa in the front seat. She's like, who's this? I'm like, yeah, it's my friend, Mike. Right, Mike? He's like, ¿Por qué? I'm like, yeah. She's like, does he speak English? I'm like, no. We just communicate and sign. And I start like doing weird shit to him and like, oh shit, Sarah, just gotta text message from a pro skater. That's cool. I've not heard from that guy in like years. It's one of my favorite pros. Not like you care. It's like, who cares, dude? Just go on with the story. All right, so she started getting suspicious because of shit like that, right? And it was like summer, and I'm like wearing like dress shirts and shit. And so I was like sweat pouring out of me profusely. She's like, "Why are you wearing a dress shirt with shorts?" I'm like, I don't know. It's the only shirt I had clean. She's like, "You don't care about shit like that. What's going on? Are you on drugs?" I was like, "No." I mean, I was already shooting Suboxone back then, but when I do heroin, one of the problems I've always had is I am a goddamn itcher, scratcher, right? And like, not just normal, like, oh yeah, I'm itchy. Like, I fucking tiger claw myself. Like, yeah, I want stripes. If people didn't know I was strung out before, they're gonna know now. It's like that kind of shit, right? I don't know what's up with me, but I just like rip skin off of me. I'm like, I hate looking sober. Fuck this. You know, it's weird. In my track marks, I'll start scratching them. So it's like they don't have to look as bad as they do, but you always see these like crazy ass gashes all over me. You know? So then one day, I think I had gone over this in the last video. She's at my parents' house, and this is what had happened, right? So my parents at this point had kicked her out. One day, she's like living with her parents now. I go out there, you know. I think at that point we had the Turo car. Hard to remember exactly, but she calls me one day while I'm strung out. She's like, "Oh my God, a sheriff just came into my house and served me with a restraining order from your family. It's because I'm Mexican." I was like, "Look, it's not because of that. My parents say they're Democrats. They're pretty racist, but it's not because of that." My dad, it's funny. He's always like telling me like how much he hates racism and stuff. He'll be like, "Yeah, but you know, Mexicans, they're lazier. They're lazier than normal people." I'm like, "What do you mean normal people? What the fuck? What the fuck is that supposed to mean?" "Well, you know those blacks, they tend to get in trouble more." I'm like, "No, they don't. They just get profiled more. They get in trouble for shit they don't even do. What the fuck?" He's nice. I don't know. He's not really. I mean, that's like an inside joke Karina and I have. He's like one of those people that like talks about how like he's not racist, but like he says racist shit, probably just because of the era that he was raised in. But he'll like say it in front of Karina, and she's like, "I'm Hispanic." But I call my dad, right? I was at work, and I call my dad. I was like, "Hey, the fuck? You got a restraining order against my chick?" He's like, "Ryan, we got to talk about something." I'm like, "What's up?" "Ryan, she's a murderer." I was like, "Huh? The fuck?" "Karina's a murderer." I was like, "What do you mean she's a murderer?" He's like, "I don't want to say who, but one of my sources told me." I was like, "One of your sources? The fuck does that even mean?" "One of my sources told me. I gotta go." I was like, "What? One of your sources calling on the other line? Hello?" So eventually I get more information out of him, and he tells me that Karina had been arrested for accessory to murder after the fact. I've talked about this before. So that was weird. That was like a weird thing going on. So she was not allowed to come over at all now. She couldn't be within like 200 feet. He's like, "Oh, I also bought a whistle. If I see her, I'm going to blow it. The neighbors know that the murderer's here." I'm like, "Stop calling her that." He's like, "We should have some sort of safe word. If you think she's going to, you know, kill you." I was like, "Let me guess, Blanca?" He's like, "Yeah, Blanca. Text Blanca." I'm like, "All right." It was really, this is, I'm joking about the code word thing, but seriously, he got a restraining order against her because somebody had told her that she had been arrested for accessory to murder after the fact. Weirdo shit. So my parents end up going out of town. Go to San Diego for like their anniversary or something. And my dad's like, now Ryan, I need you to come by and get all the clothes that you need. By this point, I'm homeless. All right, I have the car. So I have the Turo car. I do have it at that point. My dad ends up letting me come over to get like my clothes because they're going to be home for like 3 or 4 days. And he goes, now Ryan, God damn it, if you show up here, I'm going to call the police. I was like, I'm not. He's like, I'm going to put the alarm on. I swear to God, if you break in, you're going to jail, man. And I was like, look, I'm not, come on. So I'm like in the car with Karina. I was like, all right, so this is how we're going to like rig the house so that we can sneak in while they're gone. So I go there to get clothes. I go to my window because my room when I was growing up is now my dad's office. The room that we sleep in when we go there is like their like extra guest room, and it has a door to the outside. It also has these like old fashioned windows that have latches. So I unlatched the window and made it look like it was closed. I like stuck like a stick in it. So it seemed like it was closed, but you could just push it lightly and it would open. Now, the way that the alarm works at the house is there's these sensors that are in the corners of the hallway. So if you open any doors in the house, they'll go off. Most windows have the sensors. That particular window did not. So in theory, we could stay in that room, which had a bathroom in it, but we couldn't open the door outside of the hallway. So we just had to stay confined. That's better. I mean, at that point, we were sleeping in the rented car a lot. And it was like such a small car. It's hard to have sex in there. It just sucked. Typically when we had sex, we would like go to like some like public bathroom at some park or something. Like she'd be like bent over a toilet. She's like, oh my God, I smell shit. I'm like, just pretend like, I don't know. Pretend like we're fucking in Thailand or something. Come on. Whoa. And that's what we would do. So, fucking nose, man. So my parents leave. As soon as I know that they're gone, we drive over to the house and I open the window. Go in there. Now, of course, I'm scared that the alarm's going to go off, but I push it, kind of lightly swings open, and we end up staying in that room for like, a few days. Now, the house was like very quiet at night. It was kind of spooky, There was a couple times where we had heard noises throughout the house. It freaked us out. We saw light moving and shit. And we would go to the grocery store. We'd get barbecue stuff. We'd barbecue. We'd drink whiskey. And we had a lot of sex. And that was that. At that point, I quit my job. Karina knew that I was strung out, but I quit. I don't remember the reason, or maybe I didn't even quit. I don't really remember, but I stopped working there. And, hold on, I gotta find out. Hey, babe, honey, Karina. Hey, remember when I worked at that telemarketing place in Santa Barbara for like a week?
Yeah, with Connor.
No, don't say his name.
Oh.
His name is CJ. What, did I get fired or did I quit?
You just stopped going.
Okay. I just stopped going. So, that's what happened. She just said, you just stopped going. And she said CJ's real name, which is not cool of her. God damn it. Anyway, so I guess I just stopped going around that time. But we would get drunk and we would get in fights. Bad fights. One of the fights that I remember the worst, it's kind of like the, probably the worst fight we've ever gotten in. Or one of them. We got in a really bad one here one time. Like, maybe like a year and a half ago. But this one was really bad. So, we had gotten, we always got in fights when we got a bottle of Wild Turkey. That shit is really strong, It's much stronger than Jack Daniels. It is. I don't know. I don't know the alcohol percentage or whatever, but Wild Trick gets you fucking faded. We drank like a gallon of this shit together. And she was just being horrible, belligerent, telling me what a small dick I have. I think that was the time where I tried to fuck her in her ass, and she's like, it's not working. I was like, yeah, I think my dick's too big. She's like, all right, I've had way bigger dicks in my ass than yours. I was like, ew, whore. She's like, it's true. She's like, farts. Whatever it was, we'd gotten in like a insane fight that night, and she was wasted, breaking shit in my room. And I think she had like spilled some vape juice. Whatever the case was, she did something where she was so belligerent that I went to stop her from drinking. She went to go hit the Wild Turkey out of the bottle. And I like came up, I was like, no, you're cut off. You're way too drunk. She's like, get off of me, bitch. And I was like, don't call me that. And I tried to take the bottle from her, and we start kind of like wrestling. Not like wrestling where like, you know, like how you would a guy. Like I'm just like holding the football, I'm holding the bottle, trying not to fumble it. She's like trying to get it off of me. So she's hitting me, bam, bam, bam. And I'm just like holding it and like thrashing around. We're kind of like wrestling on the ground or whatever. She gets a vape that looks just like this. And she goes, bam, and hits me right here and just splits my fucking whole face open. There's actually a picture of it. I'll try to find it. I know that it was in like some of the earlier cuts of the documentary, where like I'm going like this. It's not the one, don't get it confused with my ex-wife. Yo, I thought you drug addict, when she like threw a fork at me right here. It was like right there, and it like split my whole, like, I'm like holding up bloody towel. This is the one where I'm like touching my head and there's just this big old like golf ball type welt, right? Fucked me up. This thing hurts. It's like getting pistol whipped. It's not that hard, but it's pretty hard. It's like getting hit full speed with a golf ball in your forehead or something. Bam! She's like, take that, bitch. And I was like, ah, and blood was just everywhere. Blood got all over the carpets, whatever. Wake up the next morning, super hungover because I have this headache, right? It's like pulsating headache. I'm like, oh, I think I'm having a stroke. I like barely open my eyes and she's butt naked and she's like, I'm so sorry. Let me suck you off to make up for it. I was like, all right, I guess. She like sucks me off, right? And that's like how I wake up, and that was cool. And then she's like, I'm sick of being in this room. I'm gonna go open the door. Fuck it. I was like, don't open the door. And she goes and opens the door to my room and walks in the hallway. I'm like, what are you doing? Oh, actually, you know what? God, see, I'm still a little confused. Confused because of my my infection. That gives you confusion. Google it. The night before, we had both crawled military style into the living room because like you could crawl under like the beam of the sensor. It's like Mission Impossible shit. And we were watching Catch Me If You Can on the big screen. Turn around, do a 180 on the carpet, go back after we watched the movie, and we just went in there, we fucked, and we got in that fight. And now it's the next day. She's like, I'm sick of having to crawl military style. So she opens the door and just walks to the other room. And all of a sudden you hear, meow, meow, meow. It's like, sound like we bust into Fort Knox or something. I was like, you fucking idiot, what are you doing? She's like, oh my God, we're so busted, fuck. And I was like, yeah, well, you just did that. So she comes back in the room, and I was like, we gotta get out of here, the cops are gonna come. So it's so loud. It is such a loud alarm. You probably hear it for like 2 square miles, right? So I end up calling my dad. I'm like, Dad, look, I came here to get clothes. The alarm's coming off. He's like, God damn it. God damn it. I knew you'd be up to your old tricks. I knew you were going to break into the house, blah, 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 blah. I was like, Dad, just call the alarm company and call it off. He's like, God damn it, Ryan. I knew you were going to do this. I was like, just turn it off, man. So like 5 minutes later, the alarm goes off. me and her are drinking wine at this point because now that the alarm's going off, I'm like, well, fuck, the sensor's already off. Let's go get some wine out of the wine cellar thing that's like in the other room. So we go in there, and it's not wine, it's like a cabinet. Yeah, let's go into the cellar. It was like a big cabinet with wine. We take a bunch of bottles of it, and we just start getting wasted on this wine. Rip our clothes off and shit. I think she was already naked, and I was just like wearing boxers. But I peel my boxers off, and we bone, pass out drunk after having sex. We're like in a pool of sweat, you know. Wake up, and there's cops there. Now remember, I have like a welt on my fucking forehead. There's blood all over the carpet. We're butt naked. There's like bottles of wine and wild turkey. And I like look up, and there's just two cops, like, you know, with their like hands on their waist. Ryan Leone. I was like, yeah, maybe. Can you like let us get dressed? He's like, no way, man. No way. We got a call from your dad that said you guys aren't supposed to be here. Apparently, he's got a restraining order against the girl. And she's like, oh my God, I'm naked. What the fuck? I was like, yeah, I don't know. These cops are being pieces of shit. So they wouldn't let us get dressed. We had to like get dressed in front of them. I was like bending over and like looking back. I was like, yeah, you like that or something? You pig, what's up? He's like, sir, we're not here to get you in trouble. Your dad said that specifically. He just wants us to escort you off the property, and then we have to reset the alarm, sir. If you could refrain from the name calling, that would be most excellent. I was like, all right. Sorry. We cool? So just get dressed. You guys have to exit the perimeter. I was like, all right. So we got dressed, and that was the end of that, right? Dad was pissed off. Karina, that was the first time that, like, she had really hurt me physically like that. I mean, she basically split my fucking forehead open. Hurt. And there was a number of other really bad drunken incidences that had occurred after that. You know, there was that time where I was chasing her down the street, and she I was maybe it was the other way around. Maybe she was chasing me. I don't really remember. But she ended up falling off a curb. I didn't touch her. I wasn't anywhere near her. I think I was behind her, so I think I was chasing her. And she falls and just like splits her fucking mouth open. She's like, look at what you did to me! And I was like, and there was like all these Southsiders with like a boombox like going. I was like, holy shit. It looked really bad. It looked like I did it, and I didn't. I've never put hands on Karina ever. She'd be the first to tell you that. She'd be like, he's an asshole, but he's not a wife beater. And so there was that, and then I like ran away because I didn't want to get in trouble. Anyway, it was just a bunch of things that kind of added up. And I needed to go to rehab. You know, we needed rehab. You know, I was strung out on heroin at this point. Her alcoholism was just out of control. It was like the worst I got on alcohol, the worst I got on heroin, the worse she would go on alcohol, you know, and she was just getting out of control. And, you know, there'd be like pigeon shit stains on her skirts, like on like the shoulder of her dresses. I'm like, are you going to change? She's like, no, I don't care. I want to get wasted. Fuck it. And she'd like pass out. She got like narcolepsy. She'd be like sleeping at park benches at like 3 p.m. People be like, hey man, is your chick all right? I'm like, yeah, she's fine. Like, ma'am, do you know this guy? And she like, yeah. She'd like go back to sleep. It was like really like belligerent shit like that, right? So I had to go to rehab. Now, I had a kind of sordid history at this fucking place. One of my best friends, Preston, was a web administrator, or a web designer. And he had done a website for this rehab down in Orange County. And part of the perks of him continuing to be an admin for their website and, update like the testimonials and like, ways to pay for the place was that he could get people scholarships into rehab. Now, if you remember the story when I did my first like big reading up in Berkeley, That's when I had read the Baker Brothers, you know, the difference between baking and cooking. Baking's a science, cooking's an art. That story that I read, there's video of me. I'm just relapsed, freshly relapsed on heroin. I'm drunk. I've been doing coke that night too. I've been in speedballs, and I'm on one. You can tell. Right after that reading, I'd gotten kicked out of Joe Clifford's house. He saw the condition that I was in. He's like, fuck no. I don't want you around my kids. You know, not when you're strung out like that. You know, I was like dope sick and shit. So he kicked me out of his place at like 6 a.m. Spent the night at his house. I went right to the Tenderloin and I started smoking crack with some homeless guy. Now, I had that epiphany at that point and I started crying and I knew that I needed rehab. I'd only been relapsed like a week. Now I'm already like smoking crack in tents with people that don't have teeth. Not that I have anything against people without teeth, but I hadn't been around people like that for a long time. I was like, do you ever read anything? Nah, man. I just smoke crack and get my dick sucked by bums, fool. I'm like, yeah, man, I'm out of here, you know? So I called Preston. I said, hey, I need to read. And played it way cooler. I was like, bitch babbling. Preston, I need help, man. He's like, dude, calm down. What do you need? You need to go to detox? I got you. I can get you a scholarship into this nice place. So he ends up getting me a scholarship. This is when I had relapsed in 2015, and this is how I came to know this rehab for the first time. I got a full scholarship into this rehab. Now, this rehab is bootleg as fuck. Even though it's located in a very nice mansion in Orange County, it's in San Clemente, so it's right by Laguna Beach, and it's this beautiful house that overlooks the ocean. You go detox at this house. It's co-ed. And, you have to go to meetings in the house. You sit around, like, in the living room. You guys talk about your feelings. They take you to AA meetings. You get massages there. They take you to do, like, little field trips, like go fishing, whatever. It seemed great at first. I went there, I detoxed. Usually I do pretty good at detoxes and rehabs because I just tell stories and people are just sitting there smoking, like nodding out on their detox meds. They're like, yeah, man, oh, my virgin sounds like a bitch. Yeah, oh, mm-hmm. And then just nod out and listen to me. I was strung out a week, but I was still dope sick, so they had me on benzos, they had me on Suboxone. They had me kicking, I was on clonidine, all the typical detox stuff. So I didn't really, notice anything peculiar about this place when I first got there. It was run by this woman named Selena. Selena is her real name, and I hope that she's watching this. Selena, I use this word very rarely, but you are a cunt. You are, and I hate you. And I fucking hate you. Selena is this blonde Orange County lady. Botox, fake boobs, fake tan, just trashy looking bitch, right? Not that I have anything against any of those qualities. I'm just saying, she looked like one of the real housewives of Orange County. And she was running this place. Now, her boyfriend at the time was 21. She was 47. Boyfriend was 21, this Canadian guy. Buff. Probably had a big dick, too. Probably buff with a big dick. I was always buff with a small dick. Yeah, what up, fool? I'm fucking lift, though. She's a little unconventional when I first met her. I didn't know much about her. But they treated her like she was fucking the emperor or something. Like she was Darth Vader. People would walk around and kiss her ass. And I just didn't understand why. All right, you're the program director, whatever. Slowly but surely, I started seeing that this was a cult-like figure, akin to Jim Jones. Just like a Jim Jones type slut. Very weird. We're sitting at group one time. It was probably the first bad interaction I had with her. Say your name, your age, where you're from, what you do for a living, and why you want to be better. My name is Ryan. from Santa Barbara, California. I'm, at that time, 30 years old, and I'm a novelist. And I'm here because I had a recent relapse after 3 years sober. I want to get my life back. I've already suffered a lot just in a week of being relapsed. She's like, you're a writer? You don't look like a writer. I was like, well, I am. Why don't we try being honest? I was like, I fucking have the book in my suitcase. I wrote it. How do I make that up? Now I think you're just seeking attention. I'm seeking attention because you thought that I was making something up that I clearly did not make up. How is that seeking attention? Why can't I be a writer? Why can't I be that? What, because you don't typically have people that come in here like that? So? I wrote a book. That doesn't mean anything. It's like, there's millions of books. Millions of people wrote books. Why is that unbelievable to you? So you think you're better than everybody, don't you? I was like, no. She's like, how many Twitter followers do you have? I was like 2,000 or 3,000. She's like, bullshit. I call bullshit. I was like, that's not even a lot. What the fuck is wrong with you? She's like, okay. Oh, it's not, huh? You're on cigarette restriction for the next 3 days. How's that? I was like, okay, thanks, Hitler. Fuck. Of course, everybody's like giving me cigarettes and shit. She calls me into her office, midnight. Right? She doesn't live there, but she like stays there late night. Sit down. Okay. Now, I was on your Twitter. You have 2,800 followers. You don't have 3,000. I said 2,000 or 3,000. She's like, you don't have 3,000. And you're not better than me. And you're not better than anybody. Now, I want you to sit here and I want you to write me testimonials for my rehab and make it seem like it came from different people. I was like, okay, can I smoke again after? She's like, no, but I'll be less mad at you. So I had to sit there for like 2 hours at midnight writing fake testimonials for this chick, Selena. Okay. Whatever. She's a bitch. Cool. Preston starts telling me about her. Tells me the whole situation. Right? Now, her story is that she had started this rehab with this guy named Jeff. It was her husband. Now, she leaves this part out of the narrative when she tells the story, right? My old partner, Jeff, who I ran this place with, he was my business partner. She didn't say anything about being married to him. Tragically killed himself in Mexico. As he was trying to drink himself to death, he put a gun in his mouth and he killed himself. Everything I do now is in his honor. I miss him so much. And, everybody at the rehab was like, oh my God, come here, honey. I love you so much, Selena. Okay, this is what really happened. She was married to this rich guy named Jeff. He had a shitload of money. She was like, they'd been married like 10 years. She was his trophy wife. This is before, now she's shot out. She's like the female gremlin, right? But I guess back then she was his trophy wife or whatever. They were both in recovery. And Jeff decides to open a rehab. Very profitable thing to do. Rehabs, especially when he started it, in the early 2000s, were just a budding, rising industry. You could make a lot of money if you owned a private detox or rehab. So he starts this place with her. And they try to find clients. They find one. The one that they find is some good-looking guy. I don't know how old. I don't know much about him. But I know that he was good-looking. They have one client. They get a licensed, nurse. They can do detox meds. They start detoxing him. Selena has an affair with their one and only client. She's fucking him. Jeff walks in one day. Back then, it was the same house, but they only had one person living there, and he would sleep in this bedroom. You know, nowadays it has like bunk beds and shit. But back then, one room. Jeff walks in. Selena is sucking the client's dick. He's like, what the fuck? This chick claims rape. All right, she's sucking this dude's dick. She's like moaning. She's like, oh, yeah, I love it. She's like, oh my God, he's making me do it. Hey, you're a piece of shit drug addict. Fuck you. He's raping me, Jeff, I swear. Jeff leaves. So fuck you, bitch. Leaves. Goes down to Mexico. Goes on this insane drinking bender. Probably fucking, a bunch of hookers. Fuck it, I'm gonna feel like being wild. I'm gonna fuck a dude. Who knows what he was doing down there? But he ultimately writes a suicide note and he sends it to her and he signs his name in blood. And then he shoots himself. I don't know where the blood came from, but he shot himself and he signed it in blood, according to rehab folklore. After he killed himself, she gets this letter saying that, she had essentially drove him to suicide, and that's it. She goes on to inherit all of his money. She pumps all of her resources into this treatment center, and she is an abusive, predatory bitch. Horrible person. I've been to 25 rehabs. Out of all of the rehabs, this is by far the worst person that I've ever encountered, ever, at any rehab. She's horrible. Preston just went through with her a couple months ago. And his chick left him over this whole thing. And I'll get to that. She's a horrible person. So while I'm there, she gives me scholarship. Not because she's some great person that cares about anything. She gives me a scholarship because she owes it to Preston for web design. So I'm there. I have nowhere to live. This is in 2015. If you remember, I'd lost my condo. The girl I was with had left me. All I had was a car, and that was it. So I was like, fuck it, I'll just stay here as long as I can. Now, the food there was great. Private chef. It was always stacked with, goodies in the house. Rice Krispie treats, Pop-Tarts, just shit that just oh, fuck it, I don't want to look good. I'll eat all this. And I was comfortable, and it was co-ed, and I was rebounding and just whatever. I was having a good time. Slowly but surely, I start noticing corruption at this specific place. Now, you're not allowed to use a cell phone like in most rehabs, but I'd manipulated them into saying, hey, I'm an author, and I have to check my email once a day. It's, indispensable and vital to my career. And at that time, I was getting some press interviews and stuff, and I was actually in the middle of doing one for the Fix magazine, I think, some other stuff like that. And so they let me use the phone, once a day or whatever. Now, because I got to use the phone, they didn't want other clients to see it. So I'd have to go in the office with them. And it would just be usually me, Selena, and the other staff. Now, all the staff there were suspiciously good looking. It was all buff dudes with tans and tribal barbed wire tattoos and shit. I'm like, damn, where'd you get that tat? He's like, at a shop. You ever been to a tattoo shop? Yeah, man. Yeah, cool, me too. Me too. That kind of shit, I swear. So I go in there one day. Staff's letting me use my cell phone. And they have this red cup. Red keg cup. One of those plastic keg cups. They're passing it back and forth. In a way where I know that it's not, in a way where I know that it's alcohol. I could just tell. I could smell it, whatever. And I'm seeing them grimace as they drink it, right? It's these two dudes. Selena comes in, sees them drinking. It's like, what is that? I'm on my phone, kind of just like minding my own business, periodically looking up. She's like, let me see that. And she grabs the cup, takes a fat swig of it. She's like, you dirty dogs. I was like, what the fuck? Like, the three of them, her and these two good-looking young guys, are straight up drinking alcohol. Smoking rollies, so that way it's like I smoke less cigarettes. I'm still smoking cigarettes, but I try not to buy like real packs of Newports. And when I roll them, it makes me smoke probably like a third of what I normally would. But it's been a while. Since I haven't been doing stories, I'm going to make this one a little longer than normal. Anyway, so that was like strike one, right? I realized that this place is corrupt and that they're actually drinking. Not only the staff, the goddamn program director. And then I have to sit there in group with a straight face and listen to them preach about recovery and alcoholism. Now, I kind of know damn well that Selena's full of shit, right? And Preston, because he was the web designer and he had a good relationship with her, he was essentially considered staff. So they let him take me out a few times for extracurricular shit. You know, he took me fishing, whatever, shit like that. And that's when he would tell me about her. He goes, hey man, she tried to fuck you yet? I'm like, no. He's like, she will. I'm like, she hates me. He's like, she talks shit to you? I said, yeah. He's like, she's gonna try to fuck you. If she talks shit to you, that means she wants you. That's just how she is. Guaranteed. I'm like, alright. 2 days, and he told me the whole story about, you know, that guy Jeff that had killed himself, whatever. A couple days later, it's like 1 a.m, probably. Maybe 2 a.m, middle of the night. I'm in my room, and I have like a couple roommates, whatever, you know, in bunk beds. And there's a knock on the door. Now, the only time that there's a knock on the door is if it's a female staff. And there's only one other female staff that works there, this girl Miranda, and she was like married to one of the other staff. Miranda only worked in the day, so the only person it could be was Selena. I opened the door, or I was like, yeah, come in. She opens the door. She kind of peeks her head in, and she just like goes like this. It was right after Preston told me she was going to try to fuck me too. So I was kind of like expecting that. She's wearing like, like a pea coat or some shit like that. And she's like, come on, come outside, smoke a cigarette. I was like, all right, now you're not allowed to smoke in the middle of the night like that. I was stoked. I was like, all right, cool. We go out. She hands me a cigarette. She gives me like one of those Camel Crushes or whatever. And she's like, here, smoke it. It's like, okay. I light the cigarette. I start smoking it. And she's just sitting there silently, not really talking. Finish the cigarette. And she's like, okay. And she walks me back into my room. And that's it. She didn't really say anything to me. She just took me out to smoke. Weirdest thing, right? So that was the first time that happened. Second time is probably around the same time, middle of the night. And she calls me, you know, she knocks on the door. I say, yeah, come in. Pokes her head in. Everybody's kind of like, looking at her. And she points to me and goes like this. Now this time she's wearing a hoodie. She's wearing like a USC hoodie. I remember it. She's like, come on. I want to go in the office and I want to talk to you. So she's brings me into the office, and she sits behind her desk. She's in her chair, and she's talking to me. She's like, "Are you enjoying your stay here?" I was like, "Yeah." And she's like, "Well, it costs me a lot of money. Do you know how much it costs me to house you a day?" And I was like, "How much?" She's like, "Over $1,500 to house you every day." And she's like, "And I'm giving you a scholarship. I can't really afford it. So this is what I need you to do. I got this insurance company that we can sign you up for, and then we can bill the insurance. And that way, the insurance is paying for you to be here, and I don't have to come out of pocket." I'm like, "Yeah, all right." She's like, "Okay, so I need you to fill out this application right now." It's like 2 a.m. or something. I'm like, "Are you serious?" She's like, "Yeah." So she ends up taking her hoodie off. She's wearing like a white wife beater, kind of like what I'm wearing. No bra. Nipples kind of poking out. She's like helping me do the application. She's like leaning down and like showing me her cleavage. Fill out this whole application. And, you know, that was that. She brings me back to my room. She's like, "Thank you." Puts her hoodie back on before she escorts me back. That was the second time, right? By this point, Preston comes and picks me up again. I tell him about it. He's like, "Dude, are you stupid?" He's like, "You should have gone for it." Now, I was friends with her boyfriend, right? I'm not, it's never been my thing, you know? I'm not like, you guys should know by now, I'm not like a big moral guy, but like, I'm not into cheating, and I don't like to like hook up with a girl if like I'm friends with like her boyfriend or husband or whatever. So, and I'm telling Preston, I was like, "I don't want to do that." He's like, yeah, good call. 'Cause he was friends with her too. So another night, right? I've been there like 3 weeks now. Another night comes, and she's like, "Hey, I can't sleep." She does not live there, right? She comes and gets me out of my room. I forget what she was wearing that night, but she's wearing like a sundress or something. I don't remember. She's like, "I can't sleep. Do you want to go on a car ride with me?" I was like, "Okay." So she ends up taking me in her car, middle of the night, and she takes me to the beach and just parks in the parking lot. We're like in this like isolated like parking lot. And she's like, "Your insurance didn't go through." I was like, "Okay." She's like, "You don't think I'm pretty?" And I was like, "No, I do." But she's like, "But what?" And I was like, "I don't know. What are you, I don't know what you're saying." She's like, "You don't know what's going on." I was like, "No." I was like, "I know you have a boyfriend. I know that." She's like, "Wow." Turns the car back on, drives back to the rehab, parks, doesn't say a word to me. And that was it, right? It was like basically like, she was basically, without saying it, she was like, "Let's fuck," you know, and we didn't. After that point, those 3 different times, the time she took me out, smoke a cigarette, the time she took me to her office and like had the white beater with her nipples poking out to do the insurance application, and then the third time when she actually took me to the beach and she was wearing like a sundress or whatever it was, I didn't do anything with her. And there's 3 different situations I didn't do anything with her, and I could tell that she was starting to piss her off and she was just over it, you know? Her whole attitude with me shifted. A couple days later, she ends up telling me, she's like, "Okay, Ryan, you've been here now for a month, and we just can't have you just sitting around at the detox. There's other people have more valuable beds than you. There's other people that are in need of beds that have priority over you. You're not detoxing. So I'm going to put you in PHP." So she was putting me in this new, PHP is like it's like once you're done with rehab, you go to like a residential treatment, you move into another house. She's not there ever. And you're with the night staff and it's co-ed, but the boys are in one room, girls are in the other. So I get there and it's much different than the detox. You know, we go to the main house where the detox is maybe like once or twice a week to do groups, take it to AA meetings every day. They have like a bench press and they have a jacuzzi in the backyard and a pool. The night staff that was there was just a straight up lob, like would sleep all the time. Wore like camouflage fucking vests and like, you know, fisherman caps and shit. Had a fanny pack, you know the type. And there was this girl named Julia there. So Julia was by far the hottest girl there. Huge fake boobs, skinny. And I think she had a fake ass. I'm not even sure. She was a stripper, you know, and for some reason she liked me. She always had. She'd been flirting with me like the whole time I've been there. And I like tell her, I was like, hey, let's go skinny dipping. Fuck it. She's like, okay. So we end up going in this jacuzzi. It's like me, her, there's another dude that like shows up and he's like, oh, I got skinny dipping, just cock blocking. And so we end up all skinny dipping, me, her, and this other dude. And like literally just to like get this dude away from her, I just go in while we're in this jacuzzi and I start kissing her. And he's like kind of like moving. And I was like, hey man, nah, fuck out of here. He's like, fine. He like got up and like covered his crotch and like, and went away. We were making out and, you know, it was like, whatever. And all of a sudden a flashlight comes from the house, right? Psh, like shines outside. It was like the night staff. We both ducked down, but she was too sketched out to do anything past that. So she ended up getting dressed. And so we didn't end up doing anything. While we were in the jacuzzi earlier that night, I was having a conversation with her and this other guy. And I start telling them all these secrets, all the stuff that I told you. I told them about how Selena fucked the first patient that was ever at this particular rehab. And that's what drove her ex-husband to kill himself. And she inherited all this money. She pumped it all into the program. I told them how the staff there, I caught them drinking that one time with Selena, with the program director. And then I said how she tried to fuck me a few times. Now the stripper girl, Julia, ends up, I don't know why, but she ends up going and telling on me to Selena. It was after we'd skinny dipped, like after we made out and stuff. And she's like, yeah, he's going around just saying crazy shit that you fucked the staff, that you're having sex with so-and-so, her 21-year-old boyfriend, which she was, and that you guys are drinking. Ryan told me that. He told me all of it. So Selena brings me in to the office and asks me if I said it. She's with all the other staff. She's like, you are going around telling people that I'm drinking? I was like, well, you are. You are, and you try to fuck me. Her boyfriend was right there, and he's like, kind of like glares at her. I was like, and the only reason I didn't is because you're dating my friend. He's like, no. Yeah, man, we're not dating. She's like, it's fine. You're out of here. You are out of here with your disgusting lies about this facility. I was like, dude, you motherfucker should be shut down. Like, you took me to the beach and you tried to fuck me. You said, why don't you think I'm pretty? Yeah, it's like, you wanted my little dick inside of you, didn't you? She's like, you're a pig. Out of here now. Pack your shit and leave. So I ended up leaving. That was when I got in a fight with that black dude. Remember when he hammer fisted me and I got the shiner because he was like starting a fight with some guy that had a baby backpack on. And I was like, just had left this rehab and I just like saw them talking shit outside this bar. And I was like, what? I'm gonna save the baby. And I like leaped up and tried to punch him. And he just like hammer fisted me once and broke my nose. I had the Jerry Stahl reading like a day or two later. You can see I have the shiner then. And a broken nose. You can like totally tell in that video. But, so that's how I got kicked out in 2015. So now fast forward, it's 2 years later, it's 2017, and Karina is completely out of control in alcohol, and I'm strung out on heroin, right? We're broke. We don't really have a lot of options. Our relationship is so toxic, and I think she might be pregnant. So I call her dad. right? And I call her dad and I say, hey man, like, you know, because Karina's dad didn't really like me in the beginning because, you know, I was like this dude that always wore wife beaters and I was pretty like stocky from prison and tattooed. I just looked like a dirtbag. You know, and I didn't really have manners. I'd be like, hey man, you got any SpaghettiOs in the fucking cupboard? Nah, I didn't think so. All right. Oh yeah, prison? Yeah, I've been. So what? I'm reformed now. Isn't that right, baby? And I like slap her ass in front of him. And he's like, what the fuck? So he didn't really like me, but I called him and I said, look, name's Jose. I said, Jose, I'm worried about your daughter. She has a drinking problem. He goes, I know. I was like, yeah, well, I'm trying to get her into rehab. So I call around rehab. She doesn't have insurance. I'm trying to get her into places. The only place that I can think of to ask is this particular place in Orange County. I called Preston. I was like, hey man, you think you can get me back in there on a scholarship? I was like, I think that I can like pay $1,000 each. I can get, you know, Karina's dad to pay $1,000. I can get my parents to pay $1,000 if you can get me back in there. Preston's like, I don't know, man. Selena's pretty pissed off from, you know, a couple years ago when you were there. You kind of put her on blast to everybody. I was like, come on, dude, just try. He's like, all right. So he calls me back. He's like, yeah, if you have 2 racks, I can get you in. Like, you just gotta, you know, pay her $2,000 up front. I get you guys both on a scholarship. It's like, all right, cool. Now, right around that time, you know, I had gotten, I don't know where we had left the video for the last video, but I'd gotten a dirty for heroin, and I had to go to the hospital, and complain about having kidney stones so that I could get a prescription to like, Dilaudid, a shot of Dilaudid or whatever. I had to prove that. So part of me going, you know, to rehab was also because if I got another dirty past that point, I was for sure going to go to prison. Like, he was already on to me, you know, and I already caught the pimping and pandering case. So I was hanging on by a thin thread. So there was a number of reasons for us to go to this rehab. My parents fully supported it because they knew that I was back on heroin. They could just tell. I had like tiger claw streaks like all over my face. And Karina's dad, who like I love him. He's like my father-in-law now. I love the dude. Hilarious. Him and I like get along really well. So does I get along with her whole family. You know, they're like family to me. But back then, you know, I think that was the first time that her dad respected me because he knew that I had like good intentions. I just wanted her to get help. So we decided to go to this rehab. Now, how does this have to do with Henry? It does. All of this has to do with that guy, Henry, the guy that claims that his kid and his wife were still alive and that, you know, this bellboy dude had like set it all up with an insurance claim. Everything I'm telling you that leads up to that has to do with that guy. We'll get into it in the next video. I hope this one wasn't repetitive. I've been like really confused, and I guess for good reason, because I had like some crazy ass fucking abscess infection in my gum, made my whole face numb and like led to confusion, whatever. I have been really confused lately, and I've been having insomnia, and they might all be related, but I'm feeling a lot better now. Now I'm on a Toxamy, a Tomox or some shit. Anyway, I appreciate you guys. $20 video, Sex Files next. Palabra.